This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Condi.
The pitch, Winningham sends a blast high in the air to right field. No doubt shot. This ball still in the air. It travels out of here. Dash Winningham with his third home run of this homestand. Fireflies lead 2-0. Winningham's 10th home run of this season. And Columbia strikes first.
A scoreless South Atlantic League All-Star game. Winningham rips the 1-2 into the left center field corner. There it goes, and it falls over Ring's head. One run will score. Paez gets the wave around third. The throw from the cutoff man is up the line late. Dash Winningham pulls into second with a two-run double in the bottom of the first for the Southern Division All-Stars.
Welcome to episode 36 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss and my co-host David Condi. As the high school baseball playoffs are coming to this week, I put out a post actually. The playoffs are getting started. We are welcoming Dash Winningham, somebody that knows a little something about competitive high school baseball. He led Trinity Catholic High School in Ocala here in Florida to the state championship game, I believe twice. We're going to talk about that. And in the same year, in 2014, when they went to the championship game, he was drafted by the New York Mets. And he'd go on to play for Kingsport, Columbia, and St. Lucie in the Mets organization, and also some independent ball in the Frontier League. Dash, welcome to the show.
Well, thank y'all for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Great to have you.
So before I get to my question, the first question we always ask our guests, I'm going to share a little history. So I have some friends in the game, and I'm blessed by that. Being with the site I worked with before, which kind of led me to the Mets, and then being, with Legends on Deck, we've made a lot of friendships in the game. But Dash is a unique friend of mine because my dad brought me to him. So I met Dash back in 2014. He goes to Trinity Catholic, was where my brother went to high school at, and my dad spent some time as a bus driver. So my dad put me on to, hey, you got to check out this kid. You start on your website, or you write a lot. You have to watch him, follow him up. I think he's going to be going down there to play near you. So I kind of connected with him and his mom, and she was like, oh, yeah, come on, come watch him. And we were at the JetBlue Stadium. Was one of the games, and he hit a home run over the right field fence. And I said, oh, my God, this kid is a stud. And we just connected, kind of followed him along to the draft time when his decision to go with the Mets. And when he mentioned being, recruited by the Mets, I was like, oh, wait a second, that's my team. And I had to make sure the Mets were going to do right by him. So, he ended up getting drafted by the Mets, and then I just followed him along the way. And it was a great connection my dad had. So it was great meeting him and kind of following his career along. So I'm honored that he chose to want to come on our show today and kind of share his story. So Dash, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no problem. You've always had my back, in those articles, and just being a good guy, to talk with and just have a conversation. So, I appreciate you as well.
No problem. So we always ask our guests to kind of give us the backdrop of, I know when you played high school, but where did you really start with the game? Who introduced you to it? Kind of give us a little feedback. And right before your high school days, like where did it go from, and when did you realize that, hey, I'm going to play high school ball and I'm this good?
Yeah, so I think it started at a young age. You know, I started playing this game at playing baseball at 4 or 5 years old. Got into some league ball around here locally. Got to play with some of my best friends. At the league park, and I think at some point I think I just felt like I was just hitting well and doing everything necessary to be a good ball player at that time. So I went ahead and just started doing travel ball. Started here local in Ocala, and then by the time I was 10, I moved down to I moved teams and started playing down in Orlando. So it was a good experience down there. Got to play with some good players. Nowadays, there's more travel teams locally. So think times were different. I probably would have stayed more local, but playing down south in Orlando, I think with the coaches and players, I got to play around and play with and play against. It was a good experience, and it only helped me become a better player. Because there's a few guys still playing to this day that I grew up playing around with, playing ball with.
Which yeah, I was gonna ask you
I'm
what
gonna interrupt for 1
organization?
second.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
organization in Orlando did you play with?
So I started with the Central Florida Sting, 11U, and then as I got into high school, I played with the Orlando Scorpions, which was a big. It's still a big travel ball program, and they put you in the right spots and right events, showcases, and things like that. So they did a really good job at getting me out there and getting me in front of the right people and college coaches.
So when you were in high school, like, did your school have a JV team and a varsity team, or just varsity?
We had both. So, our JV had, mostly freshman, sophomore. As a freshman, I started on varsity, but I kind of got lucky. My brother was leaving the school, graduated in 2010, and I stepped in there as a freshman and earned a spot.
And then what do you think? What game was it you thought that stood out to you? Like, yeah, I belong. This is I'm on varsity. I'm doing my thing. So when did that hit you? When did that? The freshman year, junior year, sophomore year? I'm sorry. When did that really impact you?
I would say after my sophomore year, I was dealing with an arm injury during my sophomore year, so I had to have a labrum repair in my shoulder, and I ended up taking like 4 or 5 months off there in the fall. But I never really missed a season because of the injury. I planned it in the off season when I was able to take some time and get my rehab. But I'd say after that season there, I think I came back from injury, and I think that first half in my junior year I had 10 home runs. So I knew I was gonna start getting more recruiting opportunities and college coaches coming out to see me. So that summer was a big deal, and that's when I committed to Florida Gulf Coast.
So I wanted to get into, because as I mentioned a little while ago, the high school playoffs start this week, the tournament. So we're kind of this is a very seasonal episode in that way. But you're what seems to be a very, very rare success at the high school level, with Trinity High School and Ocala.
Mm-hmm.
You take us through some of that a little bit. So my understanding is that you guys won the championship in 13 and then went back again in 14. Is that correct?
So we made it to the Final Four in 2013, lost, and then we made it back down there my senior year and won.
Got it. So 2 years in a row, you guys were in the finals,
right? Semifinals.
Final Four, yeah. Semifinals,
yeah.
and then finals. Okay,
exactly. Yeah,
that's pretty outstanding. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big accomplishment there, both the 2013 team and 2014 teams. So we fell a little short in 2013, and I thought we had the team that year, but we had some seniors that had graduated, and we just found a way to win. Found a way to win the next year. It wasn't all easy though. That next season, we hadn't lost a district championship in like 13 years, and
Wow.
that season we ended up losing a district title, and we ended up getting into the playoffs as a 2 seed in our district. Had to play on the road, made it all the way through, got to the semis, won that, and then won the championship. So it was a crazy year. It was a lot of fun. I think we had a good core group of guys that just bonded well together. We had good team chemistry, and I those are some of the my favorite baseball memories. Playing high school ball with those guys. We had a lot of fun that year.
Well,
Well,
David and
I'll admit, I was at that championship game, and that was an amazing game. I mean, I was on the edge of the seat, sitting next to his mom, and she kept saying, "You see, he's a good hitter." I'm like, "Yeah, I see, he's a good hitter." And when you guys won it all, it was just amazing just to watch that. Thank God it happened here in Fort Myers, so I was able to just drive down the road. Game, it was awesome.
So
yeah, man, that was good times right there.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty awesome experience. I would imagine. And I don't think people realize how, we're in Florida. David's in Florida. I'm in Orlando. And high school baseball in the state of Florida is like a whole different level of competition. I mean, I don't think that most states, most places, outside of maybe like Southern California and Texas, and there's a few other states out there that have really competitive high school baseball. But Florida high school baseball is almost like playing college somewhere else. So
absolutely,
Can you kind of maybe talk about that process a little bit, and then from there, how did you make that next step? So it sounded like you were being recruited at the same time that you were going, and you made that next level decision on what to do after high school.
Yeah. So, my senior year, we, ended up winning it, and, everything kind of settled there before the draft. And, 2 weeks after I graduated, 3 weeks after I graduated, it was like, it was go time. I got the opportunity to play, for the New York Mets. It was a, tough decision there. Obviously it's, big moment there, but, no regrets. In I feel like, in high school, that transition of, going to play at the next level, whether it's junior college, Division I, Division II, it's a big deal. And looking back, there's a lot of experiences that I had that it started as I got into pro ball. Like, I had to figure it out. It was not as easy as it was. So that transition to the pros was, I had to learn a lot, and it wasn't sunshine and rainbows at first, but I ended up having a solid year.
So let me just jump into one thing. When you were going to get drafted and everything, and the guys are coming to see you, were they coming to I don't remember too far back, but were they coming to the high school games at your home field? Was there a connection that had the Mets coming? Was a couple of guys coming out? Like, how did they make that connection with you, the scouts?
So it started the summer going into my senior year. I started talking with some professional scouts, and the Mets were like one of the first. So they got on to me quick after the Met Ball Classic up at Citi Field. That was toward the end of that summer, and I had a really standout tournament, and had a good fall. Went to the Diamond Club here in Florida. That was a big event for me, and I had some other interests out there too. There was 5 or 6 teams that talked with me. I had some questionnaires that I had to fill out from 10, 15 organizations, but I think I think everyone has to kind of go through that if they're dealing, trying to get drafted. So other than a questionnaire, there were some teams that never talked to me.
So when you're after the season's done, you won the championship. It's amazing. You had that experience, and you kind of look back, oh my God, my high school career is over. I'm really going into the real world right now. Now you're making a
Yeah.
decision to go either college or pro. So you made that decision. You're in the draft. Kind of, we've never been there. I mean, I kind of spoke with you over the time when you were going through that, but where were you at with draft time? Were you with the family, and kind of like share with us a little bit, followers, what it felt like
Yeah.
to go through that whole process?
Oh yeah, that was a fun day right there. So I had a draft party at the Mojo Grill here in town, and I had family, close friends, really anybody could go in there and hang out. It was a restaurant open to public, and it was probably 30, 40 people there, and to celebrate that day with me, it was something I'll forever remember, and great memories, and they were so supportive. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a great day.
Was it nerve-wracking waiting for your name to be called?
It was. I was thinking that it could be a few rounds earlier, but when it happened, it was all worth it.
And did you get that iconic phone call that we all see on all the social media with the Mets call you and let you know, hey, welcome to the organization?
Yeah. So I think from what I can remember, John Updike gave me a call. He was our area scout at the time, and he gave me a call and just wished me, told me congratulations. You're going to be a Met. Pretty much, just celebrated with me for a little bit, and then that was it till the next morning, really. And from there we talked, the negotiation process and stuff. But yeah, that was the next day.
So here's a kids now that get entry into the high school playoffs. I think down here we're almost pretty done because I know our local high school was in it. So they're in the playoffs. Some of the seniors are ready to end the season, graduate. So what can you share with them to kind of say, hey, this is the process, if especially if they're the ones that are going to be drafted, like what should they expect with the whole draft process and the different teams and how to even make that decision? Like, I mean, I know you're not making the decision, they're making it for you, but
yeah,
what can you share based on what you went through?
Well, I think, enjoy the ride. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you go out and go play college ball somewhere. And it doesn't have to be a Division I. It can be a junior college, Division II, NAIA. And they're going to find you. Their talent. If you're talented and you work hard and you show the makeup of a professional ball player, you show up to the park every day, working hard and just doing your best, you have a chance. And obviously on the field, you have to produce on the field and you have to have good numbers. But I think if you can slow it down and not try to do too much in big moments, I think that's the recipe to where you want to go. It's a process. So if it doesn't happen and don't work out, so what? There's been plenty of stories. You got guys never getting drafted, out of high school and then end up going first round. I think, Trey Turner might have been one of them. I think he was one of the bigger names that, never signed, and then 3 years later at NC State goes first round. So I think it was first round, but yeah, it's everyone's path is a little different. So I think there's no right or wrong to whatever decision you make. Just go if you have the opportunity to play pro ball. So you just got to go with what your gut says. And again, there's proven stories out there. Guys come out of high school and make it, and then there's players that come out of college and make it. So again, that's your road, your journey as a player. So.
You said one key thing, which I coach young guys, 13, 15. That's one thing I always say is how you carry yourself on the field, how you show yourself. It's not just you can hit home runs or you can pitch great. Is that if you're not showing the love of the game, if you're not hustling, if you're not having that professional attitude, because once you pass high school, going to college or whatever pro ball you get into, it's that professional attitude. And if you don't have that, most teams are going to say, well, we don't want that. They want to see what your demeanor, the type of person you are coming into the organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the character is a big thing, when it comes to, playing at the professional level. It's just a makeup thing. I think all coaches can agree. It's, you don't want to have someone on your team that's, slowing the team down from where they're trying to go. And, playing, from high school to pro ball at first, it was a, tough transition there. And, you learn, and, organizations are patient with certain players and position and high school guys. I think that's the biggest thing. You go from high school to pro, you're going to fail. So you got to be willing to just work out of it and find a way, because it's a hard game. And when you beat your own self up, with negativity, it's tough.
So you started. I'm sorry. One last thing.
Go ahead.
You started rookie ball that year. Were you in Florida? Were you in there for training? But they sent you to the Gulf Coast League, right? That's where you played locally first. So it was great. You're in your hometown, backyard. Parents just probably have an hour, 2 hour, no, maybe 3 hour drive to go and see you play. So I guess that experience was awesome. The fact that you weren't really. I mean, if you would have stayed at FGC, at the college you would have went to, would have been in Florida. But here you are, pro ball, and your parents can see you play whenever, or you can go home if you miss them.
Right. Yeah. So my first year pro ball right there in the GCL, we'd have like Sundays off. So like every other weekend or something, I would come home, and they would try to come down on weekends, family, friends. I mean, it was good to have spring training and that first season in Port St. Lucie. That was nice, because if it would have been Arizona, it would have been a different ball game. Yeah. So, but it's fun though, man. It was good times. At first it's tough. You're 18 and you're just graduated, and you kind of have to figure it out on your own at that point. And so again, you just gotta live and learn. You gotta learn, and you'll find a way.
Now, so, I'm thinking back almost to your high school. So you had the 2 back-to-back years, right? And then transitioning into pro ball. Were there other guys on your team, either one of those years, that were recruited, that played at either the college level or that even got drafted?
Yeah, there was a handful of them. So looking back on the 2013 team, we had probably four or five players that ended up playing at Division I or Division II junior college. And then my senior year, we had a few, 4 or 5 as well. So, we had the talent. I think the big thing for our team was just how build it, just having that team chemistry. We had a lot of just a lot of heart, a lot of fight. We never really gave up. We showed up to practice every day, wanting to get better. And again, it was kind of a roller coaster of a season. We lost districts. Things could have, slipped out of our hands there. But I remember having a team meeting like a few days before our first round game, and we just talked. It was in a classroom. Our Coach Bond, was writing stuff on the board, just things that we may need to work on, may need to clean up, and things that we've done really well. And I think the purpose of that meeting is just to get our confidence back and get everyone together and just have a good meeting. And so we ended up winning the first round on the road in Fort White. Then we had to play 2 more games, I believe, to get to the Final Four. Won both. Our pitching was great. We had some good arms. Jesse Laporte, Brandon Wright, those guys right there, really set the tone, on the mound. And, we could hit too, but, I feel like they just set the tone for us. And, we were able to score when needed. We were able to scratch off runs when we needed them.
Were you the only one that made that jump to pro ball initially out of high school?
I was, I was the only one. Jesse ended up going to the University of Miami, UM, and played 3 years and got got drafted out of Miami. And then Brandon Wrights, he was actually 2 years younger than us, but he ended up playing at Florida State, UNF, junior college, I believe. And so, had opportunities there. And those are just,
Sure.
two. We had others as well.
Yeah, but they went on to college first, and you kind of had that unique position of jumping right into pro ball.
Yeah, it was definitely a path that it's hard to relate,
Sure,
coming out of high
absolutely.
school. So yeah, it was fun though. Fun.
Yeah, I always watch when
regrets.
I watch the draft ticker. I'm always looking. I'm like, okay, we got a college guy, and then we got a high school guy, and then it's so it's interesting. I think for David and I to talk with you about that process, because I'm always thinking about that when I'm watching the draft list and all that, how that player makes those decisions. So I think you were able to give us that thought process behind it, which is great. Probably really, which will be really helpful to some of those kids out there that are listening, that are trying to go through that are in your situation, because not everybody's in that situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd say most kids are probably looking at, that are recruits, are looking at colleges. They're not looking at making that jump. It's a certain select group that are able to make the jump to pro ball.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a big jump. So
Yeah.
you gotta sit back and think about it. But I think, like anything, you gotta trust your heart, and things don't work out. But again, there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong, and then there's no amount of money. Like, I can't say like, oh, go go to the draft as a only if you go first round. I don't know. I think there's stories out there. You don't have to have $1 million to make it in the big leagues, and stuff. I think obviously the draft process is everyone wants to go first round, but at the same time, it's an opportunity that you may never get again if if you don't decide to go. But again, there's good stories out there too. You go college, you get you get experience, and it's not as tough of a jump as pro ball. So you learn a lot from going to college and playing at that level, and especially if it's high Division I. I mean, you're gonna be facing arms you're gonna see in the minors, because a lot of SEC arms, ACC arms, bigger conferences.
Yeah,
you see a lot of those guys pitching. When you hit the next step, even in junior college, it doesn't matter. I mean, like I said, they're going to find you wherever you're at.
No, it's true. That's true. David and I recently, another conversation we've been having, not just between ourselves, but with other guests, is position on the field. So were you primarily a first baseman?
Yeah. So when I was drafted, I signed as a first baseman, and I mean, I stuck to that position all the way through. I would get some DH days here and there, but 5-6 days a week, I was first base.
And when people think of a first baseman, they think, well, like you said, you DH too. So you were there. Your bat was a major factor on any team you played on. Obviously, if you're DHing as well, but when people think of a first baseman, they think of a guy with a big bat that may not have the range on the off or the defensive side. But then at the same time, you got to think about how important the first baseman actually is. To the team. Is kind of the captain of the infield in some ways. They say the shortstop is, but you could argue the first baseman is the one, is the guy receiving most of the the balls and is kind of in charge of that process. So you got any insight into that as the position of first base? And then I'll let you answer that one first.
Okay.
Before I get lost in more questions.
Yeah, no, man, you're good. So I love playing that position. I learned a lot. I was solid first baseman in high school, but once I got into pro ball, action was a little quicker. Like everything was hit harder. You had to worry about, especially lefties. Because some of them, they'd roll over but still hit it hard, and they'd have some of that slice or spin, and it was tough at first. But I settled in, went to an instructional league, and ended up, being fine there. And as a first baseman, you got to be, a leader out there. You got to communicate, talk, and just have the team's back too. Because you can't expect every infielder to make a good throw at your chest, especially on plays that are, bang bang at the base. So you have to, you got to have responsibility out there. You got to have, you can't, you don't want to miss any balls over there at first base. You want to try to pick everything, scoop everything, just make your infielders look great. Make your infielders look great. And sometimes some plays are, kind of out of reach. But again, you try to save an error for those guys.
You're the catcher
even
of the
even if you're off the bag. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I like to say. The catcher of the infield, the first baseman. David,
absolutely, man. Yeah.
David, I'm going to let him talk as a coach, and sort of the discussion that we've had about how you decide on positions and how is it important to play multiple positions and all that kind of thing. So, David, Coach David, jump in on this.
Oh, you are on
yeah. I want you.
Positions?
I want you to, as a coach, to weigh in a little.
Well, when the kids are, let me see. I start with the kids when they were 7 years old. So 7 to let's say 12.
We rotate,
13,
right?
13, right before high school. I've told the kids I rotate everybody because when you get to high school, I always tell them you can't tell the coach, hey, I'm a third baseman or first baseman, because who knows who's there now. You may have a 4-year senior, 4-year varsity kid playing that position, and it kind of limits and you never get on the field. So I always tell them to have the multiple positions to say, hey, coach, I'll play anywhere. Now, when you're already a couple of years in high school and you're kind of maybe looking at you're one of the top players, you're doing well, then you got to hone in on a position, because at that point, then colleges, it's great if you're multiple position maybe for college, but you may not get drafted. You know what I'm saying? You might get looked at. So kind of give us your thought process on that with the younger kids, and when do you think the kids should really hone into a position?
Well, I think if you playing different positions at any level is always a good thing, to have that flexibility of moving around. If you're a third baseman, you're able to play, middle infield as well, or outfield. And like you said, even with my, kids I coach, I like to rotate them and, get them involved in other positions, because you just never know, at some point, I think you're going to know, what position suits you best. And then again, there may be times where, a coach at the Division I level or at the pro level wants to draft you as an outfielder or wants to play you as an outfielder at their program. And you have to transition into another position. And you hope to have experience when that happens, because, it's not an easy thing. I have a, good example. My cousin, Sterling Thompson, he was drafted out of UF last year and he's with the Rockies now. He started in high school as like a shortstop, middle infield, worked some at third base, as he got into like his senior year of high school. And, when he went to UF, he played right field, his first 2 years, his only 2 years. And so he played some second base too. He would see action over at second base every so often. But now, with the Rockies, they got him back over at third mostly. So you just never know where your position may be.
So do you think that the pro level or the college level, whoever's looking at you in high school is kind of looking at all your tools? Like he has a strong arm, or his mobility is really good. So yeah, he might be shortstop right now, but hey, we could use him in the outfield. We could use him in the corner outfield because of the strong arm. We can use him maybe shortstop. Yes, but the coverage. So you think coaches are kind of, the pro level guys are kind of looking at that as they're watching you guys in high school?
Yeah, I think so. They grade you, and they give you a score, or however they go. I think it's 1 to 80, and it's if you have a good arm, there's a possibility you could play, outfield position, if you're a corner guy or not, because again, you just never know. You may be in an organization where there's one or two guys in front of you, and the only way, to get where you need to be and get on the field is to play another position. So I think some organizations have your back on that, and I've seen players transition into another spot on the field, in instructional leagues and spring trainings and stuff, and it's not easy. It's not easy because you have to put double the work in. You're taking, if you're infield and outfield, you're flexible. You're taking ground balls, fly balls. You kind of have to fill in, what you need to do every day in the infield, outfield. So
I've seen that sometimes with the Mets organization. I'm not sure if it was when you were there or a little later, where a guy maybe wasn't cutting it as an outfielder or wasn't really doing much, and then they say, "Hey, we're going to turn you into a pitcher," and then they turn the guy into a pitcher. Some guys have come great with it. I think Luis Cessa is one guy that actually turned from an infielder to a pitcher, and now look at him. He wasn't going anywhere with the Mets, and he ended up with the Yankees. Now he's with the Reds. But then I know some other guys that change wasn't good for them, and it wasn't something that benefited them. But the organization thought they need to do that, and then it kind of like pushed the guy in the way that he should, in the opposite way what they thought, and maybe hurt his
that can
career.
happen too. Yeah, I agree. That can happen too. There's organizations that just give up on you as a position player, and they want you to pitch because you may be throwing 95, 96. But again, that's probably the toughest transition right there. Go from a position player to a pitcher. I mean, that's tough. That's tough. There's, Jansen. I think Kenley Jansen was one that was a catcher and turned pitcher. And there's guys out there that Joe Zangy that I played with back in 2018. He was a position player, got drafted, and then got released, and then got picked up with the Mets and ended up being a pitcher. So, I mean, that's tough. It'd be tough. If the organization tried to, switch my position, in the middle of a season or middle of my career, it'd be tough. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Do your best.
You gotta keep the dream alive. If they tell you, "Hey, we got another opportunity for you," it just keeps the dream alive. Or you wait till you're a free agent, you say, "Nah, go on to play first base for the Yankees. See you later."
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out. It worked out pretty well for Nick Castellanos. The Tigers transit. I remember well, I'm a Tigers fan. They transitioned him from a third baseman when he came up, and they put him into right field and said, "Well, we need him in right field because he can't hack it at third base." Whatever they said about him, and they had Al Kaline working with him at right field, and then the Tigers let him go. And look at the guy. I mean, he puts up 25, 30 home runs a year. Fits just right fine. He's a starting right fielder for the Phillies that went to the World Series last year. And then Tigers, are struggling to keep an outfield together. So it works for some guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Castellanos, I didn't even know that about him. I couldn't tell.
He was a third baseman, man. He was a third baseman. Yeah, and they let him go, and he blossomed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he's a good player. He can hit and do it all. I know it does make sense because they always said that his defense and outfield wasn't all that at first, and I think he's playing a lot better defensively this year. So it's good to see.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the grind of minor league baseball. So you're in. We always hear the stories. So when you started off with the rookie league, you were kind of in Florida. So the rookie league kind of played the Gulf Coast league kind of plays across the state. You probably got used to that driving around the state and everything. But when you kind of got into in the what was the next level you went to? Kingsport. Where's Kingsport? Where's that again? Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee.
So was that a lot of long bus rides that you couldn't you get out of and you feel like an old man like me couldn't get out my seat without?
Well, I was young. I was 19, so I was pretty. I felt pretty fine on those bus rides. They would get long. 4 or 5 hour road trips. I'd say with our farthest one probably 7-8 hours. So it wasn't wasn't too bad. I didn't really hit till I got to low A when we started having to go up to Lakewood and Delmarva and Hagerstown. Like those trips were 10+ hours. So, those trips were a little tougher.
I think now the way like the Florida State League schedule is, they play 6 games. Like before, you playing 3 games and you're leaving. I mean, these guys are playing 6 straight games, and then they transfer. It kind of gives you a little bit more time to kind of like, okay, it's here in Florida, but I'm imagine the rest is, maybe I don't know if the other leagues do the same thing, but it gives you a little more time to kind of, okay, unwind, relax, get yourself in the game mode, and then okay, we got another trip. Or at least we know we're going to be there long enough to kind of get transition again, because up and down.
I like that. Yeah, I would like that. If I was still playing today, like having 6-game series and things like that. I think that would just help with the travel and just gives you rest in between, where you play 3-4 games. Like we had 3-4 game road trips, and then you'd have to travel to your next spot, or if it was coming home, like sometimes it'd be a 10-hour ride back. Then the next night you're playing again. And I think now every Monday they got off, right?
Yeah. Monday they're off.
Yeah.
Sundays are afternoon games, I think, and then Monday they're off, and then they kind of like. Obviously, the system is better now than when you in the minors. They've kind of helped them along now than they did back then, but you still have that experience of you could always say, hey, I lived the grind before before they got pampered a little bit now.
yeah, right. No, it wasn't all that bad though. I mean, it the transition. Obviously, you're on the road trips, you're on long bus rides, just the grind of just every day. But having your teammates, guys that you spend 6-7 months with, they make it easy. Like if you're not a team guy or one that likes to talk with other players, it would be tough. But I think for me, having good friends and good teammates that pushed you and pushed myself, it just made everything a little bit easier.
So you played with the Fireflies. Was that did they play at Grayson Stadium in Savannah?
No, so Columbia joined the Mets organization after Savannah and the Mets didn't agree on the season. So yeah, Columbia, it was a brand new field when I got there in 2016. So great stadium. I like playing there.
What field can you share? Because you had some good numbers. I mean, 45 home runs in the 5 years you played in the minors. You had 1 year with the Columbia. You had 13 home runs. What field can you say was the best park to hit in in your minor league career? That you say, man, I love hitting here.
I would have to say Lexington right there. Yeah, Lexington Legends. They for some reason they always pitched me pretty aggressive, so I saw a lot of fastballs, and their field, it was just a jet stream to right, so just try to lift. And it was a shorter porch. It was like maybe 325, but again, it was just jet stream, ball would fly there. And so I'd say that field. I like playing in Columbia too, as far as the atmosphere and fan base. Just having drawn good crowds, and the way they treated us as players was awesome.
So looking back at your experience as a minor league ball player, do you miss any aspect of it? Do you miss? I mean, I would say that you miss probably being with the guys, because that's like a brotherhood you guys created, especially on those long 10-hour road trips. But is there any part of minor league baseball looking back that you kind of wish you can do it again?
If I could do it all over again, I would. Yeah, I mean, the experiences and memories, man, they're awesome. Not just the wins and losses and the good times for me as a player, but it was just the life. The life and as a minor league player, it's not easy, but everyone makes it fun and makes it it makes it worth it.
I would never put my buddy in the spot.
Collectively,
ever.
Yeah.
But did you? I mean, were you ready when the time came to kind of say, hey, I'm not, the opportunity wasn't there anymore to play minor league baseball? Was that something that you look back and say, hey, I've accomplished a lot, more so than what maybe other people thought you would, or maybe, everyone wants to make the majors, but were you good with your decision at that point when all that came
Yeah.
down?
Yeah, man. When I was released, I took that time to like resettle myself and get kind of a game plan of what I wanted to do the next year. So, I trained and worked out and hit, and got a call, with a team from the Frontier League, like, hey, you want to come play indie ball for a season. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. And in indie ball, no one's like really made the team, even if you go to spring training. So, you had to show up, and win your job at a spring training. So that was another experience, but a great great times. Windy City, the Thunderbolts, they were the team that called me, and ended up making good friends over there, and had a good season. But when it was all said and done, I felt like I could have played another year or two, but just decided to retire, hang them up, and just move on to something else. So.
Well, you know what? Listen, you play high school ball. You won a championship with your high school team, right? I mean, that put you guys on the map with that. You got drafted. Not many kids get drafted out of high school to play pro ball. You did that. You've accomplished so much. I mean, your journey. So many kids can look up to that. So many kids can see that. The end result for everyone that goes pro ball is to make the majors, right? But that's not always, unfortunately, in the cards for everybody. But you played 5 years pro ball. You put up good numbers. You unfortunately, I would have I think you were with the wrong organization. I think you were with the Reds or someone else. You would have made the majors. The Mets just don't know what they're doing over there. I'm sorry. I've always said that from day one. I am a Met fan, but I've said it from day one. I don't like the way they treat the minor leaguers. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any minor league minor league system is going to be a little tougher. Mets, I felt like the Mets, they were, fair, as far as, for me as a player. But, I can understand, other players getting, and yourself aggravated, especially, the expectations for this season, like as a, with the Mets, I'm rooting for them because I like watching, that team, and, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, like guys that I seen and was around a lot in the clubhouse, spring training and instructs, see those guys playing at that level, and, just winning a batting title. And, Pete, he's already setting records as a Met. So, I mean, it's really, that's just name a few, it's awesome to see, Guillorme,
Yeah, there's a lot of, that's right. There's a lot of guys still from that time when you were there and stuff that, were able to get there and get the opportunity that I didn't think they would, but, I've always been a proponent to push all you guys, and hopefully they would listen. I mean, I probably had a parade for TJ Rivera and Jason Bradford, and they finally listened. So
yeah. TJ, I remember TJ. Yeah.
TJ was good.
Yeah, I like TJ. He was a good guy.
He's managing now with the Arizona. So if you still got some games, I'm gonna give him a call.
Okay. Well, I don't know as a player or as a coach, but I thought about it over the last few years, but man, there's talent. There's talent all over the place, in the professional level. It doesn't even have to be at the major league. I mean, AAA, AA, like they're loaded with arms now. Guys are throwing 100, and it was not common to see upper nines or 100 as a starter, but see guys lighting up the radar like that now, it would be tough. That would be tough. It would be tough. But I was always a pretty good fastball hitter. It was that off speed, like mix, and guys, they'd hit their spots, and you got to tip your cap, because I'm not saying never struck out on a fastball. I mean, it happened plenty of times, but I was ready for the fastball, man. But it's impressive now, man. It's to see just the talent up there. I mean, I think Otani's been probably the talk of the league for the right reasons. I mean, the way he handles himself and the way he can do it both ways is just incredible.
Yeah, the Angels better win the championship because they're going to lose them quick. They better hold on to that one.
It looks like they're holding on to a winning record right now. I think they're trying. I think they're working extra hard this year. They got Trout and Ohtani, and they got to put it together at some point, right?
They should.
Oh my gosh, you were speaking of that the speed. My son and I had the Florida Texas A&M game on yesterday for a little while. And I gotta get the guy's name, but it was a Texas A&M pitcher. My son's telling me, he's like, this guy's throwing 99. I'm like, at college? And he's like, that's what it's saying on the board. I got to look into that a little bit more, but it could be true. It could be true. Like you're saying, the speed is unreal at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I've been following the Gators this year and looking at their three arms, their weekend arms. You got Brandon Sprode, who's 97, 99. You got Waldrop, I think Hudson Waldrop, or Saturday guys like 96, 98.
He was pitching yesterday.
Yeah. And then Caglione, he's the new
Ohtani, the college Ohtani.
Yeah, man, he's a baller. He can play. I got to see him. I got to see him towards the end of last season when I would go up to games up there, and he had a good year, but he just never got that opportunity early on. As a position player, I think he was hurt too. Like he wasn't able to throw, or he was limited to pitch, to not pitch. So, I got to see his bat a little bit last year. It was impressive, but I didn't think that he would break the school record this year. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. So what can you tell us? How are you staying involved in the game nowadays? And what are you doing with yourself and business wise or baseball wise and all that?
Yeah. So I'm not playing anymore. But
right.
I do coach. I have a training facility here in Ocala.
Awesome.
For one-on-one sessions, group sessions, and really anything, mostly hitting. But I also have done some pitching in the past. But I like to work with hitting. I think there's a lot of things that I can relate to up there in the box, and it's every player, kid, that comes in here is different. So I think the biggest thing is having that connection early on, and then just being on their side and understand what they're going through it's not so bad. And the kids, they put a lot of pressure on themselves sometimes, and you just have to stay positive with them and keep them in line, because this game's not easy, and I know the frustration.
Yeah,
especially at a young age, and you don't have to be all American at this age. It's never a bad thing to peak later on either. There's
what's the age group you're working with?
So any age really, mostly 10 to 13. Okay. I also do some younger kids, work with some younger kids, and I work with a handful of high school players locally, and this past off season, Sterling, my cousin, and Sammy Infante trained a little bit in here, so that was cool. Got to work with some of the pro level players. That was fun.
So it's
cool. Talk with them. Yeah.
It's cool what you said, that some kids don't have to peak now; they could peak later. And I think the mindset sometimes, this will be another show we'll bring you on, but the mindset sometimes is that the kids will have to be at 10, 11, 12, travel ball, and about all this pressure and everything else. And some of those kids get burnt out. Whereas, you know, if they just kind of go along, get the skills in place, get the swing along, you know, have successful games that, you know, they see the practice going into the game, they're successful, they may end up peaking at a certain time when then they can really take off. Taking off at 8 years old, and you peak at 8 years old, by the time you're 12, you're playing soccer. You're not playing baseball. That's a good point
exactly
about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you know, there's no timeline. You know, you gotta be good enough to play high school, but there's no timeline to that. I think everyone's different, a little different. It's how their body is too. You know, some guys coming out of middle school in the freshman year, they're not physically like ready. I mean, I was pretty big at that age, but you know, some players weren't. So like, you know, if I'm on the other side, you know, it's that's the challenging part is, you know, you're you have to work, get stronger, and, you know, handle your business, especially with, you know, putting on weight, just getting stronger.
Yeah.
So
kids grow at different times too, like you said. There's little guys that hit their growth spurts at different times, and you know, that there's a lot of factors that go into that how a kid develops as a player, and of course you know, desire is another thing.
Yeah, you have to love the game, and you gotta love it, you gotta play it, love it, and enjoy being out there. You know, the player, you have to want to get better, and if, you know, the day where you stop saying to yourself, you know, I can't get better anymore, then, you know, that's the day you need to stop playing. Yeah, you're done. You know, you have to grind through the tough times, and I think that's what makes you a, you know, better player in the long run, is going through those difficult times, and, you know, just getting back to work, getting back to the drawing board. It's not always going to be easy.
Yeah, some of these kids nowadays, you know, they just show up to the games. I mean, they just play, and then they don't want to practice, and they don't want to watch the game, and they don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, you want to get to that next level, you got to study this game, you got to love it, you got to want it, and like what we're talking about, that may not click for them at 13. It might click at 15. They're like, oh wow, you know, for me to get to the next level, I got to put the work in, because when they're 12, 13, they're still young-minded, they're still not thinking about anything other than, you know, playing video games, whatever. But when they're 14, maybe once they hit the high school level and they see all the other friends playing ball and actually putting the work in, I think that's kind of, some kids just click and say, hey, if I really want this, I got to put the work in. They just like not listen to me right now. You know, I'm not a high school coach. So they don't. I didn't play pro ball. I don't know anything. So I'm going to share this.
All you're trying to do is talk some sense in, though, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you want to get better, you're going to have to work at it, right? I mean, that's in anything, man. You know,
it's true. That's why I tell my kids with anything. It's like, you got to put in the work, whether it's schoolwork, whether it's, you know, whatever it is that you're
life.
You got to put in all the extra time. The more you put in, the more time you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, and the further ahead you're going to get on it. So there's no shortcuts.
Yeah, there's choices you make, and, you know, you if you want to get better at video games, then play more.
Play a lot of video games, man. You'll be
play
great.
a lot of video games. Yeah. So that's it, man. So
that's awesome.
All right, well, we want to say we want to thank you for joining us today, Dash. I mean, like I said, we go way back. I mean, wow, we're in 2023, and I met you in 2014, man. That's 9 years ago.
It's crazy.
And
time flies.
Exactly. Be able to watch your career, and I had a front row seat for it. You know, what people don't realize is that when you follow minor league baseball, it's even more special when you have a connection with a ball player. Like, I had a lot of connections with ball players. I followed them, and I always wanted to know how you guys were doing. I always wanted to know you guys were okay. Did you need anything, you know, or just a sounding board if you guys were stressed out with anything. And I'm blessed and honored. My kids got to see that too. And you were always gracious with them, and we got to see you in camp and all. So I always appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And you don't realize it, but your story and everyone we've had in the podcast, their story have impacted a follower or a kid or something in a positive way. So, you know, it's good to share your story and kind of get it out there and your journey, because the next generation, you know, you don't know who's going to listen to it and say, hey, man, I'm going through that same thing. And now I can kind of focus on what Dash did or what Dash was able to do to get to the next level. So, And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us today.
Yeah, man, you got it. Anytime. I'd like to come on the show again, podcast again. Just let me know.
We'll get you back for sure. We always got to follow up with our guests and give it as we go down the road. David and I are clipping along with a lot of these, and it's great to hear from our guests later on. As we do these episodes, we usually think about more things that we can talk to our guests about, and to check in with what you're doing as things progress with your baseball training and all that too. So
absolutely, man.
We want to make sure we can
just let me know.
Yeah, definitely. We can help promote that for you as well. So give us the information on your on what you do as an instructor and the facility and all that good stuff, and we'll make sure we get that out there for you.
Okay. Yeah. So my facility is called Dash's Dugout. And
I like that.
yeah, you like it? Yeah, I had to think about it for a few years. I've been doing it for a few years, but I think that name stuck.
Well, that's good stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm in Ocala, Florida, so I mostly train local kids from around the area, and I've had players from Gainesville and a little further south, Wildwood and Sumter area. So
my parents live in the Villages, so I'm familiar.
Okay,
with
yeah. Okay, yeah. I work with a few kids from the Villages, so
nice.
High school players.
Yeah,
so
20 minutes from Ocala.
Yeah, it's not too far down up the road, and like I said, this whole area is growing. The Villages. Got a new equestrian center. I mean, everything is just fast growing around here. It's I don't mind it, except the traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Can't get
traffic can be a pain.
Well, that's awesome. So, we'll share that out there for you as well. So if we got people in the Ocala area, look up Dash's Dugout for sure, and we'll have it access. You can access. We'll make sure we post your pages and stuff here at Legends on Deck.
Cool. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
And don't forget our Legends on Deck merch shop. David's got a little.
Well, I got this one.
So this style on today.
So I do all the designs, but this. That. So I'm going to say a little bit about DC3. So I'm pointing the wrong way. DC3 is a custom-made baseball glove. So Dalton Cornett, who DC3 is our podcast sponsor. So basically, this is a mock-up actually of one. I can't say. Okay, this is a mock-up of one of his gloves. So we just added with the shirt. So we have the DC3 collection on our Birch page, but this is an actual glove. So you can actually go on DC3batco.com, right? DC3batco.com and custom make your glove. And he actually has a cotton candy baseball glove. It smells like cotton candy, and it's like there's weird colors on it. So they put some balm on it and smell like cotton candy. These kids nowadays, I know a kid that bought it. He called me the other day, he goes, David, this glove is amazing. It fits good leather and everything. So it's a little bit quirky, but so that's kind of the shirts we have. The hats, and I'm kind of designing some more stuff on the site just to kind of get our stuff out there, kind of grow Legends on Deck again. And we also want to thank Ease Up Mortgage for being a sponsor as well. So listen, like I said, Legends on Deck has always been that platform to get people to share their story, and I'm glad that we've been going strong since 2015 was when we went live. And we're gonna keep doing it. So thank you for being on the show, Dash. Brian, thank you for partnering with me to do this, man. This is amazing to have this podcast keep going strong. It's fun. It's amazing. It's fun. We love it. Sometimes we talk a little bit too much in the guests, but that's all right. It's all about the guests. So
we're having a great time, and we're talking to great people. So you can't go wrong with it. And that glove I'll have that glove. It looks almost identical. It looks almost identical to that glove right there. I ordered one about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So in the next week or so, I should be getting that glove, and I'll have it I'll be displaying it on our podcast, and it's going to have a Legends on Deck logo right on the side of it. So I'm pretty excited.
The official glove of Legends on Deck.
I'm pretty excited about it. Pretty excited about it. My son's going to have to help me break it in over the summer, so I'm excited.
Well, thank you guys for being on the show. Dash, you want last words, Dash?
No, I appreciate y'all having me. It was fun, man. Just let me know next time, and we'll get it set up.
Definitely,
Great,
definitely.
man. Episode 36, right? 36.
Episode-
Yeah.
36 going on, moving fast along.
All right.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.